Welcome back to the Little Marketing Podcast, where we share practical real-life advice for Australian small businesses. So one of the biggest challenges we see in small business marketing isn't a lack of effort, but a lack of confidence in what to focus on. So many small business owners ask us, am I doing too much? Should I just be focusing on one thing? And how do I know what's actually working? And the truth is that knowing what works in marketing often comes from trying multiple activities intentionally, not randomly. So I want to start with a real life example because it perfectly illustrates how this plays out over time. So we work with a client who is absolutely relentless in their marketing. Month after month, they're showing up. They run 3 email campaigns a month. They send 3 SMSs a month. They invest consistently with SEO. They run Google ads. They update their website regularly. They sponsor their industry associations. And most importantly, they're active, they're visible, and constantly in front of their audience. And because of that ongoing commitment, they generate inquiries, revenue, and profit from multiple marketing channels. So this particular business has been operating for over 30 years. And usually when we share this kind of case study, we hear of, well, of course they can do that. They've been around forever. They've had lots of years to try different things. But the thing is that they didn't start this way. So time can be an advantage, but only if you use it well. This business didn't magically land on the perfect mix of marketing. Over decades, they have tried, they've refined, they stopped doing things that didn't work, and then they started to double down on what was working. And then slowly they've started to build a marketing ecosystem that supports their business from all different angles. And that's a really important part for small business owners to hear. Successful marketing isn't about picking the right channel from day one. It's about learning and testing your way there. So in the small business space, we often hear advice like pick one marketing activity and master it, or don't spread yourself too thin, or just focus on one channel at a time. And there is some truth to that advice, but it also assumes that you already know which channel is going to give you the best return. And most small businesses don't know that, especially in the early stages of the business. So if you're in the early stages of your business, you're still learning where your customers are coming from, what messaging is going to resonate, which channels help you convert, and what you enjoy doing and what you're actually going to stick to. So if you lock yourself into one marketing activity and it doesn't deliver, you're not being focused, you're limiting the learning for your business. And sometimes trying a handful of marketing activities at the same time can be one of the smartest things that you can do. Not absolutely everything, you don't have to do everything at full capacity, but enough just to gain insight into what's going to work for your business and what's not going to work. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is where some businesses get it wrong. Testing marketing activities is not the same as jumping around randomly between different activities. Testing means you give an activity enough time, you define what success looks like, you measure what happens, and you refine before you abandon. Whereas thrashing looks like trying something for a few weeks, not seeing instant results, getting frustrated, and then moving on to the next idea. And that's how small businesses waste time, money, energy, and skills, and then they wonder why their marketing isn't working. Marketing rarely fails because the channel was wrong. It fails because it wasn't given the time, structure, or clarity. So one of the most helpful mindset shifts for small business owners is understanding that marketing is often a process of elimination. You're not going to find out what works by guessing, you'll find it by ruling out what doesn't work. So, it could mean SEO is going to take a bit longer. Google AdWords does work, but only with a better website. Your social media does build credibility for your business, but it doesn't necessarily bring in inquiries. And maybe email marketing drives repeat business better than new leads. And none of those outcomes are failures, but it's information that you can gather for your business. And then once you have that information, you can make smarter decisions. So another critical piece of information is that sometimes the answer isn't stop, but the answer is just to adjust. For example, if Google Ads isn't converting, is it the ad or is it the website? If social media isn't working, is it the platform or is it the message? If the email isn't being opened, is it the channel or is it the content? So the businesses that succeed don't constantly change direction. They ask better questions, they improve one variable at a time, and most importantly, they're letting the data guide their decisions. So every business is different, every audience behaves differently, every industry has different competition, and every budget has different constraints. So what works great for one small business might not necessarily work the best for yours. The right strategy is the one that's going to align with where your business is at right now, what you can actually execute, what your audience responds to, and where you want the business to go next. So testing doesn't replace consistency, but it requires it. You're still going to need to show up regularly. You still need to communicate clearly. You still need to reinforce your same message, and you still need to give your marketing time to compound. And that's exactly what our client from the example at the beginning of the episode did. They didn't abandon their marketing once it started to work. They committed harder, they built layers, they reinforced their positioning, and they stayed visible. So at the end of the day, marketing isn't just about following strict formulas or ticking the boxes. It's about being intentional, adaptable, and consistent. So whether you're just starting out or you've been in the business for decades, the principles still stay the same. Try a few things, measure what's working, learn from the data, refine your approach, and commit to what's working. Over time, those actions build visibility, they build trust, they build recognition, and they help your brand grow. So if marketing's feeling overwhelming at the moment, remind yourself that you don't have to get it right the first time. You don't need to get it perfect. You just need to keep learning. It's about staying curious, staying consistent, and learning over time. So thank you for listening to today's episode. I hope you found it helpful. If you want to learn more, you could head to our socials or visit our website, which is littlemarketing.com.au, or you can send us an email at ask@littlemarketing.com.au.
Please note that all the information provided on this podcast is general in nature and is not intended to be specific advice to your individual situation. Please be sure to engage a professional for a customized approach to your business and personal circumstances.